Hello everyone and welcome to the unofficial Arkham Horror Super Complete Edition 3.1 tutorial. My name is Crispy. You may have seen me around several Discords, most notably the Playing Board Games Discord, if you are aware of who those guys are, and I will link those Discords in the description below, or the Mythos Busters Discord. I'm a very active member of the Arkham Horror community. I'm creating my own custom content. I play the game pretty religiously. This is my favorite game of all time, both card game, video game, everything in between. I love this game to death. And with the blessing of the previous tutorials creator, Pax, I'm going to be creating a unofficial tutorial for the updated version because Pax's version, while still very useful, is somewhat outdated with all of the new features that have come since then. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be covering several things. I'm going to be covering basic TTS, Tabletop Simulator controls, as some people just buy TTS just to play Arkham Horror and don't actually do the tutorial. They should, but they don't, and I will go over the basics of that. I will cover all the options and the other controls up here. I'll cover the Playmat, the Gamemat, how to set up a campaign, how to import a deck, how to build a deck, and other nifty features that the mod features. And that's pretty much it. This video is going to be pretty long. I will put timestamps in the description as well as in the YouTube bar, so you can skip between, because there is going to be a section where I cover custom content and what I personally recommend, and what I've heard great things about. But most of the tutorial is going to be skip throughable, so you can get to the parts where you might not, like, if you know TTS, you don't need to watch that part of the video. So anyways, let's get right into it. So the first thing we're going to cover, as I said, is the Tabletop Simulator controls. So WASD moves your camera, scroll wheel zooms in and out, right mouse allows you to rotate the camera, Q and E allows you to rotate objects. If I hover over my deck that I've loaded in here and I press E, it will rotate according to the degrees that I set up here, which you can set between. I always leave it at 90, and then Q will rotate it to the left. R will shuffle or throw things in the air if it's like a coin or if anything that's tossable, like dice. So if I hit R, it shuffles right there. Grouping, if I have multiple cards out here and I want to put them into one thing, I can click and drag to highlight all of them and press G to group them together as one deck. H is to show a hand. So if I put a card in my hand here, you'll see that I have my hand right here. If I press H, I can make that go away. If I don't like that, or if I do like that, it's up to you. Pressing the U key, I actually don't know if this works very well. What I like to do is if I want to put something under, I'll just hold right click and drag it under like that. It says U is supposed to do that, but I've never actually noticed it do that. Magnifying things, anything you hover over, of course I draw my weakness first, anything you hover over can be zoomed in on. Anything that's interactable that's not like a button. So my weakness here, I can press Alt, I can use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out on it, I can press Q and E to rotate the artwork if I need to do that for whatever reason, but this is how you zoom in on things. You can also just zoom in like this to read something, but keep in mind your hand is visible to other players, so if you have it on a card, you might be covering the text for them and they won't be able to read it. Tab is one of the things that you're going to be using a lot, the tab key. If I press the tab key, I will ping a location like that. If I hold the tab key, I'll draw a line to wherever I started pressing the button, so I'm pressing it now, and I draw a line to there. Tab is used a lot if you're playing in multiplayer, so you can tell people like where you're going to go, what you're going to do, stuff like that. So keep that in mind. That's a very important key. Space lets you reset the camera like that. Sorry if I gave anyone motion sickness. And then there are some numpad keys, but I'm going to go over that once I get into discussing the game itself. But that's pretty much all the basic controls. The last thing is like drawing cards and states, so I'll go over that really briefly. Drawing cards, you can either right-click something, you'll see that there's a lot of options here, and just draw a card like that. Or what I like to do is I'll hover over it, and I'll press the number key, a number key, just not on the numpad, for how many cards I want to draw. So if I want to draw 3 cards, I'll press the 3 key. If I want to draw 12 cards, I'll press 1 and 2 really quickly, like that. And then again, as I taught before, if you're catching on, I click, highlight, press G, can throw them all back in my deck and shuffle, like that. Very easy. That works the same thing with card states or token states or anything that has a state. You can tell something has a state if it has those 6 or 5, I can't count, 6 dots above it, and if it has like a number out of a number. So this is 1 out of 20. If I press 2, it'll go to what I believe is Seeker. Yep. Then if I press 12, it'll go to whatever 12 is, which is a rogue parlay action. Very random. But anything that is a state you can interact with like that, or you can right-click it and just go to the state like this. Most things that have states are things like this, or books, or rule books, like the rules reference here has like 40 states, 30 states, 32. So that's how that works. Now, let's jump into the options up here, as well as on the left here. So the only thing on the left that I'm going to actually cover that's important is the grab tool. That's your default F1. That lets you pick up and grab things. And then lastly is the line tool right here, which again, you can just easily do by holding tab. That's it. Up here, games, this is where you go to select your games. You should see that your load for the mod is here. Objects lets you load in certain objects, like what is loaded in a lot, like it might be a coin. And then again, you can press R to shuffle that, like that. You can press delete, by the way, to delete things. Music, I ignore. Notebook, this is important. It shows all your numpad hotkeys, as well as other things that might be relevant for the mod, so keep that in mind. Options, the only thing I'm going to go over is server permissions and the game keys. So server and hands, actually. Server lets you modify your server. I'm in single player, so this is irrelevant, but in multiplayer, you might want to set it to friends only, public, how many people, stuff like that. Permissions, I always recommend, I like leaving all of this enabled because I trust the people I'm with, but I don't trust them enough to not disable table flip. I always disable table flip so no one accidentally flips the table, because there's an undo button here, and while the undo button is very useful, if you do it, sometimes the mod can bug out, so I tend to avoid doing this, but you can rewind things based on seconds and how much time has passed and stuff like that. It's very useful, but it can break the mod, so I tend not to use it very much. Hands, hands is relevant only if you're playing, for two reasons. If you, for whatever reason, you want to be able to see other people's hands, or if you're playing, two-handed or multi-handed, if you're like my friend Nick, who is crazy, you can disable this, and this will let you see other people's, you want to leave hands enabled, but you want to disable hiding, so you can access other people's hands, or at least see what's in them, I should say. You always have access to it. And then game keys. So game keys, you can set custom keys to do certain things. The newest one is moving card to this brand new shiny victory display. So you can add custom hotkeys to do all of these things. I never use this. I might actually use the victory display one, but I never use any of these. I just prefer to do things manually. So that's all the TTS stuff. Pretty much, because modding is irrelevant. Flip the table does exactly what it thinks what it says it does. Configuration, I guess I should mention, the autosave is pretty frequent in this game. I keep it that way, but you might want to lower it because it can freeze the mod. The way to do that is you're going to go to, I believe it is Controls. No, it's not. It's Interface. Miscellaneous Settings. You have to click it twice sometimes. And then scroll down to where your setting or your autosave is right here, and then I have it at 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure that's the default, how many slots, but you can make this longer or shorter depending on if you trust yourself, or if you or if it freezes the mod typically, or a lot for you. So yeah, do with that as you will. And then lastly, this is lift height. This is just how high you lift things. It's not really that relevant. On to the mod itself, the good stuff. Let's talk about the good stuff. So, the first thing we're going to go over, I'm sorry, I'm scratching my nose a lot. It is allergy season, and I have bad allergies. So, the player mat. Let's go over the player mat because this is probably the area where you're going to spend most of your time besides the actual game board itself. So, the game mat has a lot of central components to it. It has your stuff where you put your assets, such as, and then you have the slots, and then you have extras. So this is where like you can keep permanents, talents, customization cards, You can put whatever you want here. I don't care. But here are where your slots are. So ally, body, you get the idea if you know how to play the game. You have your threat area. You'll draw cards into this, and then you can, if you're not resolving them immediately, you can drag them into this threat area, and I will showcase that once we get to the actual campaign area. You'll have your well, I don't want to say resources because that's what this is called, but let's call this money, but resources that can be modified. So health, horror, money, and then clues. Anytime you add clues to this, this number will go up. Anytime you remove clues, the number will go down. Very simple. Not rocket science. To modify these buttons, left click to add, right click to decrease. These tokens are for your actions. You flip them over to show that you've done an action. This is for bonus actions. So, I'm Roland. I shot something. I investigated. I moved. Done. I can now show to my friends, even though they should be paying attention, that my turn is done. Your deck is right here. Your investigator's obviously right here with the back. And then your discard pile goes right here. Now, when you load in a deck, it's going to load in several things. It's going to load your investigator. It's going to load the stat counter. The stat counter is the same as these. It can be modified, so as you gain bonuses, you mod it. So it'll update your stats accordingly. It'll load your investigator. It'll turn these the color of your investigator. It'll load your deck. It'll load, and then it'll load any permanents or customization cards and put them to the side. Now, what I typically do, I'm going to explain what I typically do when I play, because I like to think I play pretty optimally. So if you want to play optimally, I would follow along with this. So when I play an investigator that has permanents that can be interacted with, so this one isn't, neither is this one, but this one is. So I'll typically put this here. Now, if I have nothing else to put here, I'll still put these here, just as a quick reminder. And then my upgrade sheets from Scarlet Keys, I leave to the side for reference. I don't want to take up space here. But anything that can be, like, exhausted, I always put in this area, because the upkeep button will unexhaust it, and I will get into that later. So this can be exhausted, and then the upkeep will fix it. And then I just put these here as reminders, but you can also just put them here. I usually remember, so I'll put them to the side, but some people want to put them here, and that's fine, like Charisma, Relic Hunter, so you can remember, or so other people can see, you know, whatever is useful. So you have this button here that draws encounter cards. Again, I will showcase this later when I talk about campaign. You have your Chaos Bag button. So when you left-click this, it will draw a token from the Chaos Bag. If you left-click it again when a token or tokens are out, it'll put it away. If you need to draw multiple tokens, you're playing Olive McBride or pretty much any Mystic that has some form of token manipulation, you left-click, and then to draw more tokens, you simply right-click. And then once you're satisfied, you left-click, and they all go back. Very easy, very simple. In the middle here, you have any tokens, so health, horror, you can drag them out. They have states, so you can make them 20 health, 20 damage, or whatever. Doom doesn't have states, neither does clues. Resources doesn't. Connection markers you actually won't need, because the metadata will connect them automatically. The only reason you would use this is for whatever reason something is broken, or custom content doesn't have metadata, which some of it typically doesn't, so you'll have to use these manually. But most of the stuff does it automatically, so you won't have to worry. Here's a Bless and Curse modifier, as well as a Lead Investigator token. I never use this, but you can use this if you want. And then the Bless and Curse Manager, all you have to do is select which option. If you need to take something out for whatever reason, you can do that. But if you need to add or remove them directly, you can just do this and then right-click to remove them. Very simple. Left-click to add, right-click to remove. This is a custom token remover. You can right-click it and hit Enable. And then anytime you drag a token over it, it will automatically remove it. Very, very useful. Just be careful with this, because you can accidentally remove important tokens. I've done it numerous times. I typically like to take this and move it like over here, so I don't accidentally do that. You'll also notice that there's buttons up here for the discard, for the threat, as well as an upkeep button. The upkeep button will do exactly what it is expected to do for upkeep. So let's say I've exhausted this. I've taken my turn. So when I hit the upkeep button, what it'll do, it'll flip these over, it'll unexhaust anything that's exhausted, it'll give me a resource, and it'll draw me a card. Very, very awesome feature. So, onto the game board. So, on the game board, you're going to be presented with Joe. Joe is a tutorial for Super Complete Edition. Joe is great. I recommend doing Joe even though you're watching this video. But For the sake of this video, we don't need Joe, so I'm going to send him on his way. But he's very useful, and I would recommend doing that because there might be something I miss, although I'm going to make sure I check every little box. So the game board here, I can't really explain without loading in a campaign. So let's talk about that. How do we load in a campaign? Up here, you'll have all of the campaigns and return tos. Rest in peace for Return to Dream Eaters. I cried inside when MJ announced that that wasn't on their schedule. So anyways, you click whichever campaign you want to play and hit the download button. Let's use Dunwich, because Dunwich is very typically a first player's experience besides Night of the Zealot. Campaign, full campaign-wise. You're going to hit place. It will load all of the scenarios. It will put the campaign guide, which now loads on top of the victory display, so I recommend picking this up and moving it. And then it'll load the editable campaign log for investigators, stuff like that. And let's go, and all that fancy schmancy stuff that you need. Let's go ahead and load in House Always Wins, because that's typically the one I always play first. You'll get, that's new, it didn't always give the spooky noise. So it gave spooky noise, it tells you the title of the scenario. It loads in all the starting locations, and anything that needs to be attached or added, such as the club pit boss. If it's a starting scenario, it'll tell you the difficulty. If it's another scenario, it'll usually just give standard or hard because it assumes that that the chaos bag is the same as before, or that you're playing on standalone mode. So in this case, I'm going to hit standard, and it will automatically edit this to be standard. So you see it had 16 before, now it has 15. So when you load a scenario, it will load this stuff, as I mentioned. It will load the encounter deck. It'll load the set-aside chest, which has everything that you need that's set aside, the agenda deck, the act deck, the scenario card, and then this, as I just mentioned. Now, sometimes it has a different setup, like it requires a certain act or agenda. Usually there are buttons accompanied to that that will let you set it up very easily. A very good example is the scenario from TFA. I believe it's the fourth one, might be the third one. I don't remember, but it's the one where you're running around Arkham. That one has like a lot of buttons because it has a lot of setup. So now that we've discussed this, let's talk about the encounter deck. So when you load the encounter deck, I'm pretty sure it's already shuffled. Yeah, no, it isn't. Unless that's a coincidence. No, I think that might actually be a coincidence. I always shuffle the deck, and then when you draw cards, it is exactly as I described it before, like with the chaos bag, except right-clicking just draws a normal card. So you left or right-click to draw a card, you deal with it, or if it's an enemy or whatever, you move it into a threat area, and then when you're done, you just hit discard, and it will automatically go to the discard area. Isn't that neat? And it does that with weaknesses, too. I load cover up here. Oh my god, scary. If I hit discard, it will send this to my discard pile. And any tokens on top of it, there shouldn't be when you discard cover up. Or actually, you don't even discard cover up. You just, yeah, you just discard clues. But anyways, you discard it, it will get rid of it, and then it'll get rid of any tokens that are on top of it. So, like, that's useful for enemies, basically. That is where you'll find that most useful. So, that is how the encounter drawing deck works. And like I said, there is the interactable campaign log, so you'll have notes to type, anything that's campaign specific. In this case, it's the sacrificed. And then player names, investigator names, trauma, stuff like that. I recommend using Arkham DB, or more specifically, the Arkham Cards app. It's very useful, amazing app, run by an amazing developer. But this is very useful. I use both, actually, I should say. I write everything down on here, and then I also use the app, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. So, that is how you set up a campaign. It's very simple, or set up a scenario, I should say, very simple. Make sure you go to the appropriate page to follow any other additional setup instructions that might not be automatically done for you here. And we're going to go ahead and move on now to the other areas of the board. So, and as I mentioned, by the way, that these automatically connect. If I were to move this right here, you see how it automatically does that? It would do the same if I load in any other additional locations and stuff like that. It does it all automatically because the people who made this mod are incredible, and I will shout all of them, or most of them out, hopefully, later. So first we have the bottom left corner. This is where you'll find your rules reference. So first you'll have 2 cards here that just showcase the round sequence and actions as you play the game, or if you've already played the game, you should know these by heart, but it's useful for new players. The rules reference, however, is always useful. So you'll find the index right here. You'll find a player or a phase reference right here. My friend Nick that I mentioned before loves this thing. And then you'll have the rules reference, so you can just go to whatever page. Each page is a state, and then address whatever you need to do. This newspaper isn't super useful. It just has a FAQ, deck lists, stuff, learn to play, stuff like that. So if you need to learn to play, then you do that. On to one of my favorite parts, the deck builder. So in order to use the deck builder, you need to have an ArkhamDB account, and you need to make sure you go to your profile and set decks to public. The way it works is very simple. You take your deck code, in this case my Roland Banks deck, and I put it in here. You put all the other investigators, and then you hit the build all, and then it will load them all simultaneously. The only time you want to do this separately is like if actually I can't really think of an instance you'd really want to do this separately. There probably is one, but try to do them together. You save time. Oh, I know. If someone is using a public deck, or published deck, I should say, and someone's using private, then you do this separately, because it won't be able to differentiate between the two. That's how this works. It's very simple, awesome, and I already explained what spawns in, what you should expect. Up here is the actual, like, building a deck physically in the game. If you're upgrading, again, not using ArkhamDB or Arkham cards, you can do all of this manually. It's very, very user-friendly. You select if you need to load in any investigators only. If you're playing, like, cycle-based, so you only want to play based on a certain amount of cycles or what cards are in a cycle, you can organize it by that. And then you can organize it by level 0 on class, 1 to 5 on class. You can spawn all the weaknesses right here. You can spawn a random basic weakness like this. Keep in mind, with clicking the button replaces the previous weakness, so make sure you move it, and then it will spawn it normally like that. You also have a searcher card. If you need to find a specific card, let's say I'm my friend Astute, and I love me some Well Prepared. I don't know if there's a dash there. I just do that. Oh, look, it spawns me Well Prepared. Very, very awesome, again, feature if you don't want to have to go through all this crap. I shouldn't say crap. This is freaking awesome, but this is useful if you need to find a specific card. Here's community content. Again, I'm going to cover that later. I already explained how this works. Again, download, place, that's it. Do not hit the setup button for anything. It can screw things up. Just hit place and recall when you're done. This is a campaign overview. This is useful if you just want to see what each campaign is about. Just very simple stuff. And then lastly, on the bottom here, right here, it'll show what comes. This is very zoomed in, and zooming out doesn't really do much. But this will tell you the latest patch notes. It will tell you what the featured fan content is. Color of Oz by my good friend Beard is here. And then Bloodborne, which is created by I believe. Both of these guys frequent the PBG Discord, so if you want to stop by and say hello to them. I think this is created by I'm sorry if I'm giving credit to someone who this isn't made. I'm pretty sure it actually mentions it here, so I'll go over that. And then on the bottom right here, you have all of this stuff that you really actually don't have to pay attention to, because it's all accessible on this bottom right corner, which is what I'm going to go over now. I'm just checking my overview, making sure I didn't miss anything, but nope, I'm pretty sure I've covered everything so far. So the bottom right here is a very, very amazing button that allows you to sort through all of the official content and the custom content very easily. So if I want to see the official campaigns, you'll notice, oh my god, it's blank, nothing exists. Just hit the refresh button. Then it'll all appear. It'll be the same if you click any of these other things. Nothing will appear. You have to hit the refresh button. So then you'll see all the official stuff is right here. If I hit standalone, all the official standalones are right there. And then we get to this. This is where everything is community-wise. Both investigators, campaigns, and scenarios. All three. And again, I'm going to go over this in a bit. The last thing I want to go over is the general options, or, well, all of these options, really, that can make your experience a lot smoother. So these three are always enabled by default. I recommend leaving them enabled. The scenario title, I guess you could disable, but, like, it looks cool. Here's what I always enable, and then I'm going to explain everything. I always enable the draw one button. Sometimes I enable the clickable clue counters or resource counters. Sometimes. I always enable the attachment helper, the chaos bag manager, the cleanup helper, the hand helper, and the token arranger. The search assistant sometimes I'll do, but that was implemented before the search feature was actually made by the guys at TTS. So you don't really actually have to enable this, but you can. It's a very nice feature. So that's what I always, like almost always have enabled. But I'm going to go through all these and explain what they do. So the draw one button simply adds a draw one button so you can draw a card quickly if you don't want to press the one key and you don't need to upkeep for whatever reason. Clickable clue counters does exactly what you think it does. It replaces that with a clickable counter. Resource counters means that anything that spawns ammo, I'm trying to think of the mystic, my brain stopped working. Charges, anything that has like something that's countable. Instead, so I'll spawn here. We got this enchanted blade. Normally, it just spawns with 3 resource tokens, right? And then I'm gonna go ahead and discard this, right? If I enable this, and then I spawn the same card, what it'll do now is that becomes a 3. Some people like this over the other. I like, again, physically moving things, so I don't typically enable this. Same thing, same reasoning for the clue counter, unless I'm dealing with a lot of clues, like in a 4-player game. You probably want to enable it, but I typically leave it like that. On to the fan-made accessories. The attachment helper is amazing. This is probably my favorite out of all of these. What it does is, I don't know who created it, so I apologize. I can't give credit to everything. I know the search assistant was made by Ticketoy. That's all I remember. Basically, the way it works is you click and drag it out. It used to be different. That's why I was right-clicking it. You right-click it. You can select the image. So, like, say, Diana Stanley, my queen, my goddess. You put it like that. You put it to the side. So it's not covering anything. And then anytime you trigger her ability, you can just put a card beneath her. And what it'll do is it will tell you its cost, it will tell you the name, and then any icons it has, as well as the amount of cards that are in it. And then you can click the card to just have it spawn, or you can just click and drag it out. Very simple. This is my favorite thing. I use this all the time. Chaos Bag Manager does exactly what it says it does. It manages the chaos bag. You left click to add a token, you right click to remove a token. The token arranger shows you what's in the bag, and then you can modify the values if you need to for whatever reason. And it just shows you like your odds and stuff like that. Very, very useful tool to just generally see what your odds are of doing a skill test. And if you're like me or my friend Nick, that's where you're gonna hit a majority of your tests. Custom playmat images lets you adjust the playmat image. I don't know anything about the choose your own adventure, so explore that at your own risk. Same thing with the displacement tool. I don't know what that does. Hand helper lets you count your hand very easily. You put it up here and it just counts how many cards are in your hand. I put 5 in my hand like that, and then say I have what's it called, dream enhancing serum. You can just click to enable it. Oh, or not? Or do I have to right click it and then, no, huh. I don't know how to enable it or not. Oh, maybe it does it automatically. I don't know. And then, but what's really useful is it lets you discard a random card. That is typically what I use it for, but also keeping track of your hand is pretty good. Navigation overlay, I don't know what this does. I think it just lets you, quickly moving the camera. I don't use the search assistant, I already explained, and then the token arranger I already explained. That's it. That is the tutorial. That's everything that you need to know to play Arkham Horror Super Complete Edition 3.1. Now, I will mention this. I didn't mention this before. This may become outdated as updates come by. This mod is not regularly updated, but updated enough to where things can drastically change. So this tutorial might become out of date. So if it does, sorry, but if it's not, I hope this was applicable and good to you. I'm gonna just do like my outro here before I go into like the custom content, because that's a whole different section that people might not give two shits about. So again, you can find me on the Mythos Busters Discord and the PBG Discord. I don't go on the Mythos Busters Discord very often, if at all anymore. So if you want to contact me or any custom content creators, don't harass them, obviously. But if you're like, oh, hey, great work, they're usually on the PBG Discord or the Mythos Busters Discord, and you can, again, don't harass people. I'm saying, like, oh my god, like, you did it. Like my friend Beard, again, he makes so much content for this game. I always compliment him. So yeah, if you need to ask us any questions or you just want to be a part of that community, I'm not officially a part of PBG. Probably never will, but it is the community that I spend the most time in. So again, I will put both of those Discords in the description below. Be sure to join them if you want. We're in the PBG Discord, I can speak exclusively that we're an amazing community. Not that the Mythos Busters isn't a great community, but again, I don't spend much time in there. But we love Arkham Horror, we love board games, we love video games, we love everything, pretty much. So drop by, say hi, spend some time with us. And yeah, and then shout out again, or not again, I haven't done it yet. Shout out to the mod people who updated. I want to make sure I get all the names right. I believe it's Buhalen, Bootlegger, Finn, Chris, Ticketoy, Seth. I don't know if Seth actually does any modding or if he just posts updates, but he's a name that I will mention. And I apologize if I'm missing anyone. Those are the main people that I know work on the mod extensively. So big shout out to you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all the work that you do. Everyone appreciates it. You're all beautiful people. And yeah, so now after that, and thank you for watching. If this is where we say goodbye. If you are continuing and want some custom content recommendations, this is now the part where I will go over this. I didn't go over the cleanup helper. I guess I'll mention that really quickly. It just resets everything. That's it. It's brain dead. I think this was also made by Ticketoy. Love you, Ticketoy. So custom content. So again, you can find everything here. I'm only gonna mention stuff that I know is good, that I've heard only good things about. Or that I've heard, like, positive things about. Not only good. There can be criticism, of course. Or things that I've played and have opinions on. I'm not going to say anything is bad, for the record. There is bad custom content. I will not be mentioning that. I'm not going to say steer clear, because that's insulting. If someone put their hard work into that, I'm not the one to say something is bad and put them on blast like that, because I'm not a dick. So, for investigators, I don't play with many investigators, so I only know a few of them. I know the Bad Batch is made by, and I'm also going to shout out, obviously, things made by my friends. Bad Batch, made by my friend Toast. Love Toast. This is based on the Bad Batch from Star Wars. I love Star Wars. And these guys are all actually, like, fun, too. I'm not just shouting out because he's my friend. These guys are really fun to play. I've played Tech. That's the only one I've played. But they're all pretty fun. Don't Starve, I've heard good things about. I don't know anything about it. I just know that I've heard it's pretty good. The Lola Hayes rework I have played. This is made by Minty Fan. It is really cool. Really, really cool. Some things are a little unbalanced, but I only have positive things to say about this. It's a really, really cool, and a lot of work what went into this. Minty Fan did a really, really good job with that. Minty Fan also made the Rabbit Hole expansion. This is another thing that I really, really love. And I believe they also made signature replacements. That I might be wrong on. But Rabbit Hole expansion basically just takes already existing cards and has different versions of it, upgraded, downgraded, different colors, stuff like that. It's really, really cool. Minty Fan made upgraded Uncage the Soul before Fantasy Flight made upgraded Uncage the Soul. So ahead of the curve there. Signature replacements is exactly what it sounds like. It replaces the signatures. I'm actually going to load it in because I want to see who made it. It is made by Minty Fan. I knew it. I know my shit. Okay. Good job, Minty. Love you. So yeah, this is a really cool thing to that I'm a huge fan of. It has replacements for, I'm pretty sure, most investigators, if not all of them. I don't know how updated it is. The last I looked at it, I believe Edge of the Earth just came out, so I don't actually know how updated it is, but it's very good. It's very good. That is everything I know for fan investigators. I did play with the Weird West. I thought they were pretty cool, but they definitely changed since I last played them, so I don't know how balanced it is, but it is cool. On to the campaigns. This is the juicy stuff. This is the stuff that I love, and that is just incredible, the amount of work. I'm going to shout at everything made by my friend Beard, because Beard not only is the stuff that he makes amazing and incredible and awesome and every good adjective that I can think of, but he's also just like a really great guy, and deserves the shout out. He actually applied for FFG. Hopefully he gets there someday, and he's working on his own stuff right now. Amazing guy. So he's made Alice in Wonderland, which I played. Amazing. It's a little on the easy side. If you're used to playing Arkham Horror, I recommend playing this on hard difficulty. But it's an amazing, super thematic. The scenarios are really fun. Great campaign. He has also made Cyclopean Foundations. I've heard amazing things about. I haven't played it yet. I have a lot of stuff on my list to do. Again, I've heard nothing but good things about. What else has he made? I might actually miss some of his stuff. He's made so much stuff. Jumanji, 4-part campaign. Again, I've only heard good things about. But I haven't played it yet. On the list. A lot of Beard stuff is on the list. He produces so much stuff I haven't caught up to it. Color of Oz is his newest thing. In fact, it is the featured thing. This is, I believe, an 8-part scenario campaign based on The Wizard of Oz. Which I'm stupid. I didn't know that the Wizard of Oz movie, the old movie, was based on books. So this is based on the books. So, I don't know what the consensus of people is. I don't know how many people have played it. It just came out, but I always assume stuff by Beard is good, so I assume it's good. And that is that's all of his campaigns, I believe. And then he's made some scenarios as well. Arkham Incidents, I love. Arkham Incidents. I've only played one of them. It was the Tetsuo Mori one. But this is based on basically signature allies within the Arkham universe that already exist, and it's a campaign or a scenario based around them. Awesome. First off, awesome idea. Secondly, I haven't played all of them, but I assume it's awesomely implemented. I love the Tetsuo one, but I assume the rest are very good as well. Let's see, what else did he make? And then I'm just going to go down the list of stuff that I've played. He's made something else, Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere here. I can't see it right now. I'll probably see it like when I'm... Oh, here, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Again, I've heard great things about it. This is made by Beard, again. And I haven't played it yet, but I've heard great things. I'm really pumping up my friend Beard here, because his stuff is genuinely very good. However, it's not my favorite. My favorite campaign, my favorite custom campaign is Dark Matter, made by Axolotl. Dark Matter is phenomenal, incredible. It's a sci-fi based scenario based campaign, centered around actually Patrick Carcosa, which is an official campaign. I've played this 3 times. Every single time it has been phenomenal. Axolotl also released like a mini expansion. I actually don't know if it's on here. I haven't seen it, but it's phenomenal. Just unbelievable. And I hope he does more stuff. Well, I know he's done more stuff, but this is the only thing that no offense, Axolotl, I love you, but this is the only thing like I can actively think of by him, just because it's unbelievable. Alright, now I'm gonna just go down the list. Betrayal at Mountains of Madness, also known as Batmom. The creator is in the PBG Discord, so is Axolotl, so is Beard, so is Toast, as mentioned before. This one, again, I've heard amazing things about. This was actually created before Edge of the Earth, and is I believe it's based on the same... I haven't played it. I believe it's based on the same books, so it's in like the same kind of area, but it's pretty different from what I've heard, but it's very good. This is from what I've heard, and the creator is very nice and great guy. So That is that. Call of the Plague Bearer. I've played. Call of the Plague Bearer has one of the best intro scenarios, I think, in a lot of official and custom campaigns. The intro scenario is fantastic, and the overall campaign, I think, is very good as well. I can't recall who has made this one. I'm going to click the button and spawn it in so I can see. Oh, okay. Hovering over it doesn't tell me who made it. It'll probably be... where's the campaign log? Because it will be in the campaign log, and I want to make sure everyone gets credit. Okay, it starts on page 18 for whatever reason. Come on, where's the name here? Who made this? Oh wait, it might be on the last page, actually. I'm wasting a lot of time here, but I think it's very important that the people get their credit. Here we go. Dr. Jack Science. Oh, Axolotl playtested it. Thanks, Axolotl. But yeah, this is made by Dr. Jack Science. He's on the PBG Discord. That's why I wanted to make sure I shouted him out, because he will know that this video exists. Okay, that is all of that. This stuff I'm gonna just throw in here. Onto... That's not the right button. Continuing down the list here, we have... again, I'm just talking about stuff that I know of or have personally played. None of this stuff I've actually played. Crown of Eagle, I don't know how to pronounce it. I've heard pretty good things about, but I haven't played it again. And then fan scenarios, I typically don't play fan scenarios. The only thing I've done is the Arkham incidents, as I mentioned before. So again, explore these at your own pace. I assume 99.9% of them are amazing or good. You know, all they need to be is good to be impressive when it comes to custom content, in my opinion. And that is all the custom content that I recommend. It's not a whole lot, but it's enough to where you kind of get the juices flowing, and it's enough to last you a decent while. So, don't be selfish. And again, explore whatever you find interesting, because there's a lot of custom content. I'm working on my own Bioshock campaign, self-plug there. I'm hoping to get a few scenarios done over the summer when I'm off from school. But other than that, again, quick outro, because I basically gave the outro before. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something useful out of it, especially that you watched this part of it. So I hope you got something useful out of the custom content. I hope you explore the custom content. Again, people put in a lot of work. There's amazing developers behind this mod and amazing developers behind the custom content. Please explore them at your own risk. At your own risk. Explore them. They're great. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. And again, join the PBG and Mythos Busters Discord, link in the description. Timestamps, again, in the description if you need to go back to see certain things. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Later.